We're going to talk about Moshe from Bamidbar 11, Numbers chapter 11, because there's so many profound lessons in it that I would be remiss not to talk about it with Guy to give greater understanding to a wonderful, wonderful message. But the people began complaining about their hardships to Adonai. Complaining. Now, there's a difference in petitioning, calling, seeking help for need, and complaining about a hardship. Now, hardship is an interesting word, complaining about their hardships. Now, hardships, you notice how you say it was too hard? Get it? Well, that's too hard. And I believe it's First John 4. It says the commandments of God are not hard, are not burdensome. Yeshua said, my yoke is easy. It is a yoke, but it's easy. My burden is light. It is a burden, but it is light. You ever notice you can ask somebody something is too much? Sometimes it's nothing more than a small thing. Just buy me a drink. And it's too much to do for somebody to buy them a drink. I told you about a young woman the other day. I was talking, witnessing, sharing, and having a conversation, all three in one, to a young man outside of a grocery store. And a young lady walked up and she stood there, and I looked at her after a while because she wouldn't move. And the guy was looking at her and, oh, Karen, hi. She goes, hi, I just wanted to give you something. I want to thank you. I want to thank you. I'll never forget how hot it was last year, and you bought me a drink because I was working out in the parking lot, and you bought me a drink. You went back in the store and bought me and gave me a cold drink. The Bible says whoever gives a prophet a cold drink of water receives a prophet's blessing. Here she is giving a cold drink of water, a drink of water. Notice I put in the word cold, but a drink of water. And so here she's in front of this guy who I just met and I'm witnessing, sharing, having a conversation with. And she just gives no regard to him. She's looking, and she goes, I want to give you something. She gave me a gift, representative, 20 times more than what I'd given her. You see, we talk about burdensome and hardships, things that are hard. It isn't hard to give. It isn't hard to endure. It isn't hard in that regard because God gives us the strength. Now, yes, there is levels of difficulty, sure. You feel the weight of a burden. You feel the constraints of a yoke. Those are rules, sometimes shackles. God puts a border around us. We can only do so much. Maybe we have an injury. We can only do so much. Maybe we have a speech impediment. We can only say so much. We are limited, but not by might, but by thy power. Like Guy said in his message, Samson, he wasn't built like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It wasn't the muscles on the outside. It wasn't anything that you could say physically, oh, that's why he's strong. Oh, it's because he works there. Oh, it's because he has that amount. Oh, that's why he gives. I give when I don't have a job. I give even more when I don't have a job than I do when I do have a job. And I give then more extensively. It doesn't matter. You can't say, oh, he's doing that because he won a lottery. Oh, he's just doing that because he got a raise. You ever gave God a raise before you got a raise? Think about these things. Probably not. Probably not. You ever fed somebody before you fed yourself? Probably not. It's not by might. Then people say, oh, that's why he did that. Oh, he had a little extra. You ever gave somebody not out of your extra, out of your barely making it resources, and you gave them extra? The Shulamite woman did that with Elijah. The young boy with a bag lunch, a fish and 2 loaves, he did that. Hardships. What does that mean? Hard. Complaining about something being hard. They don't do that in sports. Most of you don't do that at work at all. You handle every problem that you get, every stress that you get. In fact, you're promoted by your boss because you're problem resolution. And they look for somebody that can handle a problem, that don't buckle under pressure, as they say. And you're rewarded for that, but you don't think God rewards you. The moment God puts some pressure on you, you guys stress out, you lose it. That's what they're doing here. Oh, let's see what God's going to do next. No, I'm going to complain about it. Not pray about it, not call on the Lord. Lord, I need your help. I'm going to complain. Complaining is a different thing than calling out and crying and asking for help. See, complaint is an insult against whoever you're directing, blaming for your hardship.
Because basically, what you're saying to God, you don't know what you're doing. You've given us too much. We can't bear this. Think about it. I've worked with personal trainers before, and personal trainers are human. And yet, they're supposed to be trained, they're supposed to know your limitations. You go through a physical evaluation, tell me your injuries, what do you need to do exactly, how is your shoulder hurt, let's see the x-rays. So they customize the program for what you need. And yet sometimes they give you something, you tell them, it's too hard, I can't do it. And the question always comes, well, is it too hard because it goes against the injury or just because you're lazy and like to complain? I've been in both cases. Someone who knew what to do and how to train me, and I was just, oh, it's too heavy. And also I've been in the spot where it was a bad pain because it was hurting me, because the exercise wasn't fit. So basically what you're telling God when you're complaining about a situation, you don't know what you're doing. Did you bring us here because there were not enough graves in Egypt? That's what they told him.
Yes, and what he'll do sometimes, oh, let me adjust that weight. Oh, here, let's try a different position. Okay, let's start off with something lighter. They're still going to eventually get you to a heavier weight to some degree, right? Sometimes there is an adjustment that has to be made. They do it all the time with crutches and medicines. They're always adjusting the medications, the dosages, right? There are times, okay, I see, that there are moments that have to be adjusted, and that's normal. But is it too hard? Is it really too hard? Or something maybe that someone thought that you were capable of doing and you're not, and they have to adjust the tension rope or the weight? Okay, let's adjust it. Or the doctor can only diagnose you based on what you tell them. Well, do you hurt? They thought I needed pain medication when I tore my tendon. A tendon tear. That's serious pain. Oh no, you must have pain medication. Well, no, I actually didn't have to have the pain medication. And they were all surprised. They wrote the prescription anyway. But the Lord gave me strength in it. And had I needed it, I would have taken it, more than likely. But I felt it was a pain I could bear. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary that requires me to put pills in my body. Is it something I can bear? And some of us don't have a very strong pain threshold. Some of us, our pain threshold, ability to bear is deeper than others. And sometimes that's what pain management is about, getting you to know how to bear the pain without the medication, without the drugs, to get you to learn how to do that and to mitigate it. But the tendency of most humans is to jump right to the nuclear option. I can't bear it. It's too hard. Even if it's not too hard, and even if you can bear it, you're just not used to it, and that's normal. Not used to it.
Remember in the prophets, the Lord talks about Ephraim, how he was unused to bearing a yoke. He said he was an unruly stallion, right? And that is why Papa gives grace, because he knows you're not used to this yoke. You're not used to this confinement of, you call it strict. It's not strict, it's just restrictions, because you are now under a yoke, you are now under a program. When you join the military, in boot camp, they gave me so much grace, whatever you need, because they know it's a new environment and you need to adjust and adapt to it. And yet, even with that grace though, there's a line. You can get away with so much, but not more than that. Right? The boots were too much, they gave me an exemption, I can wear my sneakers. My hair, I had something on my head, they say you can grow your hair up to 5 centimeters. The skin scratches itchy, you can grow a beard. But there's a line. They're not gonna let you stay in your bed all day just because you don't want to get up and because the time is inconvenient for you to get up at 5 a.m. in the cold in the winter. So you gotta know there's grace, but grace has a limit to so much that you can get away with.
Yes, and grace does not limit itself because of you. It extends itself to you because of you. But it does not limit its directive. It's not going to make the army or the mission suffer because you're sweating. It's going to do whatever it can to help you deal with the sweat, but it's not going to allow you sweating and your complaint to interfere with the mission and the purpose, because that's not the purpose of the military. It's not the purpose of God. The purpose of God is for us to fulfill his purpose, not the other way around. You see, we're supposed to be adapting to God, not God adapting to us. And that's the definition most of grace in the Christian theology. God is adapting to you. No, you adapt to him. And don't worry, he's not a monster, as Guy said. He's not a grizzly, but he's not a teddy bear either. He's going to help you get to the level that he purposed for you, because you don't purpose that level. We don't decide that, he does. He knows what's good, what's just, what's right for us. That's the whole idea of God. We're not God to him, telling him what we have to have, what we need. No, he knows what we need. He knows what we have to have. And he's sensitive to it, which is why he tells us to do that with each other. You know what your brother needs. You know what he has to have. Why aren't you doing that to him? Why do you expect me to do that for you and you don't do that for him or her? That doesn't make sense. So the complaining of hardship is much deeper. When you find people complaining of hardship, it's not really about someone growing and learning and adjusting and adapting themselves. For the most part, it's someone who doesn't want to be there, someone who has no intention and no will. You find that people in life, in a company or in a job, in a sport, you just don't hear that level of complaint, and you know that.
Except for people who don't want to be there.
Usually from the people who don't want to be there, upset that they're not paid as much as the next person beside them. They've got some issue, and it's not really the job. It's in them. And it says, when Adonai heard it, his anger flared up. There's nothing worse, because he's God. If you think you're not upsetting the Lord, well, I got another story for you. But this anger flared up. And think about it. Why would it? The first thing that probably came to mind, are you kidding me? You were hundreds of years in captivity. You begged, you cried. See, he didn't complain about them crying or complaining when they were in Egypt. Get it? They had cried out. He told Moshe, I've heard the cry of my people. He didn't say I heard their complaining. They're crying out, deliver me, Lord, deliver us. Oh, the shackles, the suffering. We need help. Deliver me, help me. He's hearing the cry for help, not the complaint of hardship. The cry for help. I heard my people, and that's why I'm coming to help them. But now he's delivered them. Now they're complaining about the help. Isn't that interesting? Somebody comes to help you, and you complain about the help. You complain about the help, the answer that was given. You complain about the solution. And this is what's happening here.
Which comes to show how ungrateful you really are. You don't appreciate what was done for you. You said you were hungry, and just the other day I read in the news in Israel, there was an article, some kid, I don't know, teenager, whatever, they had a kiddush dinner Friday night, and he started screaming at his mother and beating her up because he didn't like the food. Something like that. I don't remember the full detail, but he was sitting there, his mother cooked the kiddush meal, and he didn't like the food. He started screaming and beating her up. Now, it's news, so he's probably in jail right now. Maybe he's demonically possessed, I don't know. To be such, so evil for someone who cooks for you, you don't like the food and you start beating them up, that gotta be demonic. But that's ungratefulness.
Wow. And there are husbands that have done that to their wives. Yeah. And ungrateful, and to the point that you hate what was given to you. And we're going to get to that. So Adonai broke out against them because his anger flared up. No, broke out against them, meaning, okay, get the belt. I'm going to get the belt. I've had enough. And consumed the outskirts of the camp.
That's the fire that came forth from Adonai.
So he broke out against them, had enough, and consumed the outskirts of the camp. Then the people cried to Moshe. Now we're back to the crying, not the complaining. Moshe prayed to Adonai, and fire abated. And that's the important thing, the distinction. You can cry out to God, don't complain. He'll hear the cry, but he'll rebuke the complaint. That place was called Teverah, burning. Why? Well, the fire that God sent and the fire that God abated, because Adonai's fire broke out against them. Next, the mixed crowd. Now, this is the mixed crowd. Now, this is one thing. First, it's the people of Adonai, the children of God. Now it's the mixed crowd. They left Egypt with it wasn't, listen, they had some Egyptians in there. They had all kinds of people. Egypt was a cosmopolitan empire. It was comprised of just multiple nations that they had taken over and conquered, and people came and traded with them and wanted to live there, move there, expats, people from other places. That was the place to live. America's a melting pot. So was Egypt to a great degree, because it was a great empire. Who doesn't want to go and live in Egypt? And so some of the people that left, hey, they took an opportunity. Well, those people are leaving. Hey, let's go. Let's go with them. After all, they were the biggest crowd that was producing all kinds of stuff here. Let's run with them. Somebody had a reason why they wanted to leave Egypt, and they took an opportunity to relocate. So it wasn't just the Hebrew people. So in the testimony of Israel's exodus is through many nations that were also with them when they left. And here is this mixed crowd with them. Now, the mixed crowd that was with them grew greedy for an easier life. Now, yeah, well, they're used to being in Egypt themselves. So it wasn't about deliverance for them as it was for the Hebrew people who were suffering it. They had the worst end of it in that regard. These people like, hey, what this promise, this all they knew, we're going to go to the promised land. So they were like, hey, this new thing, Egypt's the old story. Let's go to the new story. We'll leave England and go to the Americas. Wow, let's try this new thing. And now, wait, why are we still here in this desert? What's going on here? I thought you were taking us to some new empire. They grew greedy for an easier life, while the people of Israel, for their part, also renewed. Now they go back. They're weeping and said, if only. So here they got these non-Israeli people, non-Hebrew people with them. They're non-Hebrew, So you've got the non-Hebrew people with them, the non-Israeli people with them. And they start to influence. How many of you have been influenced by people that are not servants of the Lord? Right? Think about it. People you work with, people you live with, right? Family members that don't serve the Lord. They start saying a certain thing and you start agreeing with them. You start going with the world point of view. You're not staying who you are with the people of your spiritual tribe. Now you start turning on even your own people because you're joining. Hey, yeah, you know what? You guys got a point. We did have it easier back then. Wait. You left because you cried out to God and asked for deliverance. God sent you a prophet, sent you help, and you reject. Now you're complaining about it. You're complaining about the solution. Easier life. The mixed crowd, I get it. But you guys, because they grew greedy for an easier life.
Well, and think about it. We often say a rotten apple spoils the bunch, but and yet we can see that in everyday life. Think about the abusive husband syndrome. You suffer under his abuse, but as soon as you're delivered into protective housing, whatever, you want to go back to him. Oh, I miss him. I miss this and that about him. Yeah, if only he was here. I'm like, what do you mean if only he was here? You're here because you ran away from him because he was beating you up. But apparently you forgot how bad it was, and now all you care about is being with him.
It's interesting that people can leave sin and then come to God and complain about him and now complaining about righteousness. It is so true. People will go to hell happy for the most part because they're oblivious to their destruction. It's like I went to get gas. I was in the gas station and a lady was buying $80 worth of lottery tickets, and I couldn't believe it. And she wasn't a wealthy woman. She was, it looked like she was 1 foot away from homelessness. And you can tell she was a smoker, a drinker, and tattooed. And I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. Sin will kill you. And I look at the guy, and behind him was tobacco, vapes, Julus, cigarettes, a wall, just a wall of it. And I said to the customer behind me, I said, they will kill themselves. They could take that $80 and invest it in ministry. They could give it to God's work. They'd rather take a chance with a casino, with a gambling system, with a lottery. And then I said to the customer, of course, he's being dragged into it. He's in shock that I'm talking to him. And I said, the flood in Texas, they're all talking about the warning. Hey, where were the warnings? I like, we've got to have an investigation. Where was the warning? The people didn't. No, are you kidding me? I said to him, I said, I'm a prophet of the Lord. I warn people. That doesn't make any difference. I said, look at that. Look at all of that. Has this gas station stopped selling cigarettes, tobacco, vapes, and lotteries? And the warning, all of they got, the main thing is gambling, lotteries, and cigarettes, vapes, tobacco, not to mention the alcohol. Wow. No, there is warnings everywhere. Does that stop them? They put it on the packages. It's all around them. Does that stop them? You think people would have been saved in Texas had they had a warning? Really? He was like, he was just, he didn't know what to think of me. I said, no. Most do not listen at all to the warning or the heed. And here you see these people are not listening to the warning because it goes back to the willing. Everything goes back to the willing. Some listen, most do not. The mixed crowd was influencing the people of Israel. So they started all over again. If only we had meat to eat. Well, now that's the lie. Well, it would be better if I lived here, if I lived there, if only I could go back and live in that condominium, high-rise building like we did in Egypt. Well, at least if we had meat to eat. We remember the fish we used to eat in Egypt. Oh, wow, fellas. Remember the avocados that we had in that over there that they don't have here? Oh, remember? Oh, you start remembering the wrong thing about the best thing of a bad thing. The wrong thing about the best thing of a bad thing. It didn't cost us anything. Why it was so cheap over there? It was so abundant. And the cucumbers there, oh, and the melons. You would think, wait, are you crazy? First, it was complaining about the Egyptians, complaining about the shackles, complaining about what was being done to you, complaining about whatever, the addiction could, what was going on? Oh, now, well, at least we had 3 meals in the bars in the prison and we didn't have to pay for anything. I want to go back to prison. The leeks, the onions, the garlic, the women, oh, the women there. Oh, wow, you can just see the women in the stores. Oh, my Lord, you can see the women on the beaches. But now, look at us. We're withering away. We have nothing to look at but this manna. Wow. We have nothing and we're withering away. No, they were not withering away, but on the inside because of their lust, thirst, and greed for what God had delivered them from. Most people, and that's the trouble with addicts, is sober. God delivers you and you go back to it. You go back to it. You go back to it. He delivered you from it. You go back to it. You get sober for a day. He delivers you from it. You go back to it the next day, right? You get sober from bad thoughts. You go back to them the next day, the next day. You don't stop. You start. We had it better back then. We had it better in Sodom. We had it better in a place where God had delivered us from. I'm going back to that bad job, back to that bad man, back to that bad woman. Now, nobody's perfect. We know that. But that's not about anybody needing to be perfect. See, people that really have no intent for God are looking for any reason. In other words, they'll put up with everybody and anybody else. But if you are a person of the Lord out there, they can't wait to find something to throw you under the bus over. That means they had no intention of following God. They're looking for something to complain about. You know, there's lots of people that just look for, surely even the righteous are not perfect, but it doesn't matter. See, the righteous must be perfect. Oh, well, that's different. You know, Democrats and Republicans work the same way. Democrats are the most imperfect crowd. But because Republicans have a higher standard, and they should and they do, oh, they can't wait to find any small thing to be upset about a Republican. You let a Republican do one thing wrong, oh, and the Democrats, oh, that's it. They must be destroyed. What happened to grace and mercy? Oh, well, not for them. God's giving you grace and mercy. You gave grace and mercy to all kinds of godless people in your lives. But the moment somebody that is righteous, you find out has some sort of human weaknesses or some kind of frailty, or they make a mistake, or you no grace for them, throw them away. That's how you guys act. Very interesting. You never had any intention of following God, and that proves it right there. How can you be so aggressive with unforgiveness and so quick to want to quit? Because it's not where you want to be. And that's the truth. You know it and I know it. The manna, by the way, was like the coriander seed, white like gum resin. And the people would go around gathering it, grind it up in the mills or pound it to a paste with mortar and pestle. Then they would cook it in pots, make it into loaves that tasted like cakes baked with olive oil. Well, that sounds pretty good. When the dew settled on the camp during the night, the manna came with it. Moshe heard the people crying. After family, each person at the entrance to his tent, the anger of Adonai flared up violently. Moshe too was displeased. Moshe asked Adonai, why are you treating your servant so badly? Why haven't I found favor in your sight so that you put the burden of this entire people on me? I remember growing, a lot of pastors have said, this congregation. And you read in the book of Revelations about the various congregations unto the angels of the messengers of the churches. It's like some pastors, what they get, some churches were a pain in a butt to pastor. The people were stubborn, rebellious, complaining, never happy, never satisfied, and weren't God-centered. Sometimes you got the poor congregation that was not rich in spirit. Sometimes you got the rich congregation that was poor in spirit. And sometimes you got the ones that were just right. The disciples worked the same way. All people work that way. And Moses is upset. God is angered. Why are you treating me so badly? That this is what you give me to take care of? Did I conceive this people? I'm not their father. So that you tell me that I got to carry them in your arms like a nurse carrying a baby. Carry them in your arms like a nurse carrying a baby to the land you swore to their ancestors. So I've got to, and the job of ministers and prophets, pastors, priests, yeah, it's like that. It is. Well, it comes with the job. Where am I going to get meat to give these entire people? They keep bothering me, crying and saying, give us meat. That's my shit. They keep bothering and crying. I can't carry this entire people by myself alone. It's too much for me. And Moses is feeling the weight of the ministry. It's too much for me. If you're going to treat me this way, God, then just kill me. He got so touched. I said, Lord, just take me. I'm done. I can't take them anymore. Well, the Lord couldn't take them either. And so many people, you frustrate God because your minds are on yourselves. You frustrate Adonai. Please, if you have any mercy, don't let me go on being this miserable. That Moses is begging the Lord. Adonai said to Moshe, bring me 70 of the leaders of Israel, people you recognize as leaders, people, officers of theirs. Bring them to the tent of meeting. Have them stand there with you. I will come down and I will speak there, and I will take some of the spirit which rests on you, and I will put it on them. Then they will carry the burden of the people along with you so that you won't have to carry it yourself. He goes, Moshe, I'm going to anoint some men to come and help you. Some of that strength I gave you, I'm going to give it to them. Now they will help you carry the burden. That sounds like a good thing, doesn't it? Well, keep reading. Tell the people to consecrate yourselves tomorrow. You will eat meat. You are going to all eat meat. I've heard your cry in the ears of Adonai. If only we had meat to eat. Oh, sometimes, oh, wow, God heard, now I'm more like it. Now you're doing what I want you to do, God. Yeah, that's the God we love, the God we serve, the good. Well, tomorrow you all are going to have meat. Since you said you wanted life that resembled where I delivered you from. Many people get delivered from a place and their heart is still in that place. And that's what they wanted. All they wanted, they wanted Egypt. We had the good life in Egypt. All right. Adonai is going to give you meat and you all are going to eat it. What? He's going to give us what? Yes. And you're not going to eat just one day. Oh, no. Oh, I'm Adonai. You're going to eat 2 days. Oh, 5 days. 10 days. 20 days. No. The whole month. What? Oh, what a great God we have. Oh, yes. Be careful what you ask for, because nobody can bless you like God. Until it comes out of your nose and you hate it, I'm going to bury you in meat. I'm going to bless you and curse you at the same time, because you have rejected Adonai, who is here with you. You know, you ever reject somebody who's here with you? Somebody good in your life. You reject them. You want as little time with them as possible. You can't stand it. Can't wait to see them, can't wait, and then can't wait to leave them. Well, Israel was like that. They don't really want God. Remember when they had the utterances, the spoken word from Mount Sinai. We can't take it. We can't take hearing God. We don't want to hear him. You talk to God. We can't take him. Until it comes out of your nose, you're going to hate it because you rejected Adonai. Why would you reject him? He's here with you. And you distressed him with your crying and asking. They were asking for the wrong thing. Not the asking, it's asking is what you're asking. And it's how and what you're crying about. That's the thing. God's okay with your crying, and he definitely wants you to ask. But he says, when you ask amiss. You know not. You're not delighted in the Lord's heart.
Because what they asked was, why did we ever leave Egypt? See? How evil. So think about this for a moment, easy to demonize the Israelites. But I've experienced this so many times myself, right? You go and you meet up with somebody that needed something, you help them, you sit there to help them, and all while you're with them, they completely ignore you. They're shaking their legs, they're looking at their clock, their mind, they're not listening to a word you say. All they want to do is go back to the bar, go back to the prostitute, go back to that abusive husband. And it's such an insult. It's not just a meat. Don't read it and say, oh, meat is bad, the Lord wants you to be vegan. That's not the message here. It's the lust of the flesh, the greed and the complete rejection of the Lord. He's right here with you in the tent. Look at this glorious thing, the plagues, the deliverance. He has given you his word, his spirit. Man shall not live on bread alone, on every word that comes out of the mouth of God. And all you care about, we had the good life in Egypt. We want watermelons. We want fish. We want meat. The flesh, they were just fleshy people. And so many of you today are the same exact thing.
I had a guy, he was doing so much well, living in a city in Europe. But his flesh told him, but I got to live near the beach. He left Europe to come back because he's drawn by the peace that comes from the beach, that does not come from God. If the beach is the reason for peace, then the Spirit would say, blessed are those who live near the beach, for they shall have peace. I just want you to realize that most people do believe that, particularly liberals. 80% of all liberals live in coastal regions. They have to be near the beach. Very interesting, isn't it?
Until the tsunami comes and devours them.
And then they rebuild and move back because they'll kill themselves. It won't matter. It won't matter. That's the thing about the difference between going to God and going back to the devil. A dog returns into his vomit. Most people won't come back to God, but they will always go back to the devil. They'll go back to a bottle, they'll go back to a cigarette, they'll go back to whatever. But going back to God is the rub, and that's not. Because sin is comfortable. And if you were not just born in sin, but if you had lived in sin, your fibers in your body, your taste of it, alcoholics have to stay away from the areas of alcohol. There's no getting around it. You should not be in a place that serves it. You shouldn't go into a store that has it. You have to put protections around you because you're weak. If you know you're weak, then why put yourself in a position when you already know you're weak? And it doesn't take much for someone to fall off a wagon of sin. Just don't go down the path. That's all. That's really the only protection you have, rather than beating your chest and trying to prove that you can do something that you shouldn't be doing. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So Moshe said, here I am with 600,000 men on feet. And yet you say, give them meat to eat for a month? 600,000 men. You know, men can eat meat more than women can, and children. How in the word, Papa? If whole flocks and herds were slaughtered for them, would it be enough? But Yeshua had the same conversation with the disciples when he was preaching, and they were hungry at the end of the day. He says, go in the city and buy. Where can we go? We wouldn't even make it in time. We wouldn't even be able to bring enough back. Where can we go and buy enough food to satisfy all these people? Adonai answered Moshe, has Adonai's arm gone too short? Is God's hand too short to save? Is there anything too impossible for Papa? Is there anything too hard for God? Now you will see whether what I said will happen or not. Moshe went out, told the people of Adonai he had said. Then he collected 70 of the leaders of the people and placed them all around the tent. Adonai came down on the cloud, spoke to him, took some of the spirit that was on him, put it on the 70 leaders. When the spirit came to rest on them, they prophesied then, but not after. So they had a moment where God had anointed them to prophesy. Happened to Shaul as well. A moment, because the Lord is getting something done. There were two men, and the Lord's done that many times. He's had a donkey speak. He's had birds minister. He had all kinds of things for the moment. He'll put it on a wild man. He'll put it on a drunk man. They're not prophets, but the Lord takes over to glorify himself for a moment. There were two men who stayed in the camp, one named Adad and the other Medad. Now, remember, it says 70, right? Remember, in Luke, we talk about the 70 that followed Yeshua. We don't know when he was feeding those crowds of thousands, if that, I'm not certain on whether or not it was just referring to the 12. There was a lot of people. There might have been 12, and there might have been the 70. The other ones that had temporarily been anointed to follow him, just like these guys were temporarily anointed to follow him. Now, they fell off eventually in the New Testament letters, right? Especially when he said, you have to eat my flesh and drink my blood. And then the 70 were like, oh, that's it. We're done. That's it. You've gone too far now. And he turns to the 12. He goes, you want to leave too? See, he had that 12 inner core, but he had about 70 that were following him as well on the outside. And this is similar. Now we have Eldad and Medad, and the Spirit rested on them. They were among those listed to go out to the tent. So think about this. They were listed to go out to the tent, but they did not show up. They stayed behind in the camp. So even without them going out to the tent, guess what happened? The Spirit still fell on them where they were at, because they had already been named, because the Lord said, choose 70. So choose 70, but 68 showed up and 2 stayed behind. And even though the 2 stayed behind, the Spirit still came upon them. They were among those who were listed to go out to the tent, but they hadn't done so. And they prophesied in the camp. A young man ran and told Moses, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp. Yehoshua, the son of Nun, who from his youth had been Moshe's assistant, answered, my Lord, stop them. But Moshe replied, are you so zealous to protect me? Yehoshua, you're my young assistant. You love me. And you're so zealous to stop anybody that's trying to harm me or protect me, that you want to protect me from everything and everybody. It's okay. I wish all of Adonai's people were prophets. Remember, they came to Yeshua once and they said, Yeshua, there's these people preaching in the city. They're preaching. They're not with us. And Yeshua said, if they're not against us, they're for us. Leave them alone. Good. They're preaching. They're not from your church. They're not from your particular faith, but they're preaching God's truth. Leave them alone. How can they do any harm? I wish all were preaching God's truth, telling the truth. I'm not trying to be a famous person. I'm not trying to be the star here. I'm just doing what the Lord called me to do. I wish all of Adonai's people, Judas was that way. No, not Judas, Peter. Peter was that way. Always trying to protect Jesus, was willing to fight. I wish Adonai would put his spirit on all of them. Moshe and the leaders of Israel went back into the camp, and Adonai sent out a wind which brought quail from across the sea and let them fall near the camp. But a day's trip away on each side of the camp and all around it, covering the ground to a depth of 3 feet. Wow. The people stayed, that's large. Think about that. They fell near the camp about a day's trip away on each side of the camp and all around it. So they were a day in every direction of the camp. They were surrounded. It was a day trip away to get to them. 3 feet deep. The people stayed up all that day, all night, and all the next day, gathering the quails. The person gathering the least collected 10 heaps. They talk about the basket, the parable of when he was feeding the 5,000.
So think about this for a moment. He's giving them this wonderful, incredible blessing, right? A day's trip, that would be, think about how many hours do you walk in a day? Let's say 12. An average person walks about 3 kilometers an hour, which would be like 30 to 40 kilometers a day. So in a radius of 40 kilometers, and it's covered in 3 feet deep of quail. That's a lot. Surely you can look around and say, wow, we're good. We're gonna be here, and the Lord promised we're gonna be here for a whole month. I'll just get what I'm eating right now. I'll just take one for the meal and let them be. No, the person gathering the least collected 10 heaps. So you saw it, and then you stayed up all that day, all night, and all the next day gathering the quails. See, again, the greed. Whoa, more. Is it not enough? Just take what you want. Take what you need for the day. That's what they were supposed to do with the manna, remember. The commandment was, take it for the day. Anything left over will rot and spoil. They still took more. On the 6th day, he told them, now today gather twice for the Sabbath, because tomorrow you're not going to have any. They still went out on the Sabbath to gather. Now he tells them, you have all of this meat, it's right here, I brought it for you. Do you not trust me? I said you're gonna eat it for a month. No, they stayed up all day, all night, all the next day, gathering it into their tent. And then they spread them out for themselves all around the camp. But, and here is the part that things turn on their head. While the meat was still in their mouth, before they had chewed it up, the anger of Adonai flared up against the people, and Adonai struck the people with a terrible plague. Therefore, that place was called Kivrot HaTa'ava, graves of greed, because there they buried the people who were so greedy.
Wow. They had a movie called Wall Street, and greed is good. How demonic. People laugh about it. They love that film. Of course they do. They take it as a joke. It doesn't horrify them. Greed is good.
Get all you can all you get. I just looked in my cabinet a few days ago. I have so much food. Usually I don't live alone, but right now I am because, I have the house to myself for about a week and a half. And there is so much food. Usually we go grocery shopping every week, buying a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm looking like, I don't need to do any shopping for a while. There is so much food, why do you need to get more? But it's the same principle, the greed. Go out day, night, day, just gather. And it's that parable that Yeshua gave about the man who had so much grain in his barn. He said, well, I need to build a bigger barn. All that grain, I need a bigger place to store it. And he died that very night.
I'm the opposite. I look in my cupboards and I have to look and find the food. I have so little. But even the so little I have is so much. And I am grateful for the little. I wouldn't know what to do with so much other than give it all away. I think the less I have, the better off I am in that regard. So I'm not a slave to what I have, but what I have is a slave to God. But whatever we have is a slave to God, rather little or rather much. It's that is a slave to God, meaning it is for Him, for His purpose. Nothing that I have is mine, so I'm not really giving anything. So, once you empty yourself of possessing, you're not giving anything. And you're only giving because you haven't reached the place where you don't see it as yours. So you're giving in the sense that once you realize that none of what you have belongs to you, it belongs to God. You become a steward. You go to Vegas and you win money. Why does the government consider part of that theirs? That doesn't even make sense, but they do. Why do you build something and they feel they have a right to it? That does not make sense. But to the sense of political man, it does. The government should not think they have a right to it because, first of all, in the United States, the government is of, for, and by the people anyway. The government sees itself as separate from the people now. No, the government is of, for, and by the people, but you owe us because, well, we built the roads. Well, no, we built the roads and we gave our money like the priests are supposed to receive the money to manage and administrate the things of God. It's not the priest's money. That's what Eli's sons violated themselves. You're giving your taxes are going by choice so that you are saying, here, now you take care of this. This money's going to be allotted for this so that we can do what we do, but we need somebody basically hired to do the roads, to do the infrastructure, to do the administrative management of our country and our military. But they start looking at it as their money. The administrative system looks at it as their, wait, no, it's ours. We're the taxpayers. It's ours. Now, when it comes to God, it's the same thing. God goes, first of all, it's not a democracy, it's a monarchy. Man's system is always less than and worse than God's. First of all, it's a monarchy, not a democracy. I don't need your money. I am the one that's giving you the money. So God comes in as a monarchy, as a king. I will bless, I will give. Now, everything that you have is because of me. Now, in America, in a democracy, yes, everything the government has is because of us, of, for, and by the people. Our system, you live by the will of the people. God's system, you live by the will of the king. He's God. He does not serve you. The government does serve the people. You don't serve the government. You don't serve the government. In God's vernacular, you serve God. God does not serve you. You are the citizen. It is, yes, your majesty. No, your majesty. What is thy will, thy majesty? And out of the benevolence and the grace of the king comes the blessing to the people. And the people's blessing is that they bless the Lord, O my soul. Bless the king. And all that is within me, bless his holy name. Long live King George. Long live King John. Blah, blah, blah. Right. Long live the King, Adonai. We live to serve him.
And what you said, you remind me, I'm thinking, democracy, why it never works. Go back to verse 4, the mixed crowd, the mixed multitude. Think about it. Democracy cannot work because the majority are always going to be swayed by the minority who brainwashes them and influences them. All it takes is one rotten apple, spoils the whole bunch. So, well, it can work for a season, right? You have a leader that actually wants to serve the people, but there's going to be one guy who's going to want the power, and he's going to start influencing the people to give him the power, and once he has the power, it's the same story. You see it all over history. And that's how dictatorships rise from democracies. It doesn't work. You need the Lord. There's no ulterior system here. It's not this or that. There is only one system that works, and that is when God is king and man is his servant. Man cannot be lord over his brother, which is why the curse was, when they wanted a king, we want to be like other nations. Are you sure? He's going to slave you, he's going to tax you, he's going to send your sons off to war, he's going to take your daughters and wives for himself, he's going to do all kind of things. You sure you want a king? I only require 10% tithe, he's going to tax you 60% as we do in modern state of Israel. And you complain about God? That doesn't even make any sense. But that's how wicked you are.
Papa, help us. Papa, help us. May the Lord be glorified. And may we remember this message. In the name of Yeshua, take it to heart, what you've heard today. Amen.